Hi, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I thought I would do this new mum tag that's been going around. I think it was started by Norris and I've seen a few other YouTubers doing it, and I just thought it would be an easy one to film. I've been struggling to get content up recently. I've got a couple of videos that I've started to film. I need to do some other bits and edit them and it's just not happening. So I just thought if I do this, maybe I can get this one out because it should be an easy one to film and edit, and it might be a nice way for you to get to know me a little bit better. So the first question is favourite mum hack, and I'm sure there's lots of things that I do, but it is difficult to sometimes think that they are hacks, that you just get on with life and you just do these things to make your life a little bit easier. But one thing that I do always do, if I go out of the house for any length of time, even if it's only an hour, like to the shops, I always take a little snack. So I've got some little Tupperware with little lids, and I make a snack up each for the boys. And if I'm with my sister and she's got her little boy, I'll often make one up for him as well, so he doesn't feel left out. And I sometimes make up two, so that when we're out I can grab this snack if we need to leave, or if they're getting a bit ratty or something's happening and I need them to kind of calm down, or they're getting a little bit hungry, and a second one just in case like Tommy doesn't want to go home. So at that time I often will pull out that snack and tell him he can have the snack if he comes and sits in the car. And I have a few little nice things in there, so there's some like breadsticks and some things that maybe aren't as interesting, but I'll often have a little biscuit in there, maybe some marshmallows, something that he will want, a little treat, so that it encourages him to come back with me, because I don't want any screaming, I just want to avoid any drama, and I just want an easy life. Next question is most embarrassing mum moment. I'm really struggling to think of one. I'm sure there's lots. I've had like Tommy try getting up my skirt, which I'm sure most mums have had, or pulling at my top. Not that they were breastfed, it wasn't that, it was just that they like to pull at my top. One that I can think of, which I wasn't actually that embarrassed by, but I think maybe other people were embarrassed for me. I was quite heavily pregnant with Fraser, with my second child, and Tommy, who wasn't quite 2 at the time, was having a meltdown in a shop. I was in Home Bargains at the time. I didn't have a trolley, so he wasn't in the trolley, he was walking with me because he's quite capable at that age to walk, and I was just nipping in for a couple of things, and I can't remember why, but he basically threw himself to the ground and was not budging. He was screaming. I was pregnant, I wasn't about to pick him up. Like, he was under 2, but he has always been a very big boy. I wasn't about to pick him up, not in that state anyway. And so I just left him there screaming, and I had a few people walk past me, looking at me. Didn't say anything to me, but yeah, I did have a few people looking at me. I wasn't particularly embarrassed by that, but I think maybe they were embarrassed for me that I was stood there and couldn't move because I had a screaming child on the floor in the middle of the shop. The next question is, what part of the day do you love the most? This is a difficult one because I think it depends on the day. At the weekend, if we've got no plans and the boys haven't got up too early, I love the mornings. Particularly Tommy. Fraser is still at the age where if he's up and he needs your attention all the time because he gets into everything. Whereas Tommy, he will come into bed with us and he'll talk with us and go into his bedroom, maybe bring some toys with him, his bedding. He brings out all the bedding with him into our room, which Keith doesn't like, but I really don't mind. So I really like those mornings when, if Fraser's still asleep and Tommy has got up a little bit early because he's an early riser, and he just potters in and out and comes for cuddles, and I just really like it. Next question is, what part of the day do you like the least? This probably would have to be like from about 4 o'clock through till bedtime. Some of that can be nice, like story time can be nice. It's so hard. Fraser's usually down for a nap, so I'm trying to get the dinner started or ready before he wakes up because he's quite clingy when he wakes up, and then I find it really difficult to get anything done. So I've got dinner going, then Fraser wakes up, and then Tommy sometimes naps. Like, he doesn't normally nap, but if he does, it's a nightmare because he is not happy when he wakes up. Fraser's a little bit clingy, but he's not too bad. But Tommy is not happy if he wakes up. And then trying to get them down to eating their dinner, cleaning up, bath time. It's hard work. When they call it witching hour, they really need to call it witching multiple hours, because it lasts from about 4 o'clock all the way through till bedtime, Next question is the worst thing someone said to you when you were pregnant. I didn't have anything major, but I did get a lot of comments like, are you sure you're not having twins, with both pregnancies? And I had to keep saying positive, and I've had multiple scans to say that I'm not having twins unless one's hiding. Someone did say you were the size of an elephant when I was pregnant with Tommy. That wasn't particularly nice. Have you not had this baby yet? No, I'm still pregnant. Surely that baby's come by now. No, I'm not due yet. Those kind of things, like silly comments. Are you finishing work soon? And I still had months left. Like, I was just big. I had big babies, and honestly I didn't really mind the comments, but it does get you sometimes, those kind of comments, particularly when you're having a bit of an off day and someone tells you that you must be due this baby soon, and no, I'm only 20 weeks pregnant and still have half my pregnancy left. It's not particularly nice. Next one is baby names you didn't agree on. Everything. If you know us at all, you know that we struggle to name both our children, particularly Fraser, but with Tommy I will link above and below what I called my baby, because I did do a video on that. Basically we kind of had a name picked out, and someone we know named their child that name 5 weeks before Tommy was born. And it was too unusual of a name for, I felt like we could go for it, and I wasn't 100% set on it anyway, and I'm happy we didn't go for it now. And it took us a couple of weeks to get his name afterwards. And then Fraser, it took us a whole 6 weeks, and it's because we both had different ideas on names. Keith likes very traditional names. He likes names that remind him of people, so people his age or older that he's grown up with, that he admires. And he'll think, oh, I like that person, or I like all those people with that name, I'd like to call my child that. But a lot of those names aren't as popular now, I guess, and not that I want to go for a popular name, but there's just certain names which you just can't imagine calling a baby anymore. Like, obviously 30, 40 years ago they were babies, but I just couldn't imagine calling my baby that now. And I like something that's not too weird, but a little bit unusual, not really heard of, or not as well known, because I've grown up with the name Leah, and although you hear the name Leah now, you didn't when I was a child. I didn't know anyone called Leah, so for me I had a very unique name. I didn't have multiple people in my class with the same name. Now Tommy has obviously got quite a popular name, and there are more Tommys now, but you don't hear it quite so much. And Fraser is a Scottish name, and you don't hear it too much, but you do get it every now and then. So they were kind of happy mediums. They were traditional enough, but for me unique enough. But yeah, we disagreed on pretty much everything, and apart from those two names. Next question is, do you co-sleep? Currently not, apart from Tommy coming in. We try not to let him come into our bed before 6 o'clock because it's just too early. If it's getting close to 6 o'clock, I let him, but anything before that, and we try to encourage him to go into his own bed, because he kicks, he moves, he just doesn't settle, and then I don't sleep because he often wants to sleep next to me. He doesn't like sleeping in the middle. I end up in the middle, and he wants to sleep at my side, and he just doesn't lay still. I don't mind if it's close to 6 o'clock because I feel like I've had enough sleep in bed by that point. Fraser, on the other hand, absolutely not, because he would not sleep. I don't think I've ever co-slept with Fraser. It just didn't suit him. With Tommy, I used to bring him into bed with me when he was a baby around 5 o'clock, I think it was. So his early morning feed, Keith was getting up to go to work, and instead of putting him back in his cot, which I think he was in a cot out of our room at that point, I just brought him into bed with me, and he went to sleep and he was fine. And because I had the whole bed, I didn't mind doing that. If I would do it in the future, I don't know. I don't think I would do it full time, like from baby in the bed all the time, because it doesn't suit me. I just wouldn't sleep, and I need my sleep. So we kind of do, but not really. Next question is something you bought but don't use. I'm quite restrictive with what I buy. I don't buy all these gadgets that everyone says you need but actually don't need. But one thing I can think of was a mat cover, a changing mat cover. We did actually use it with both boys, but because when they're newborns, they wee and poo all the time. As soon as that nappy comes off, here comes the wee and poo, and it just gets everywhere, and if you've got a cover, it gets on the cover, and the cover ends up in the wash. And so we had 2 of them, but they just kept going in the wash, and we just didn't always put it on for that reason. But they were both born in winter, and those mats are cold, so we did use them, but not as much as maybe I thought when I bought it for Tommy. So that's something that I didn't use very much. And then other things, I think I've used everything I've actually bought, but someone gave us a little blender for blending baby food. I think I used it once or twice with Tommy. I think it's in the loft. It probably needs to go, because with Fraser I didn't do blending food, I just did baby led weaning, and he just had soft vegetables until he could eat a bit more, so I never used it at all, so that can probably go. I didn't buy that, but it was given and was rarely used. Next question is 3 hospital bag must-haves. So the first thing I would say is very, very big knickers. With Tommy I took some big-ish knickers, but they weren't big enough. I was so uncomfortable afterwards and wish I had bigger knickers. I don't really know what I was thinking. I think I knew that I'd still be big-ish after having him, but I guess I thought I wouldn't be as big, so I wouldn't need them to be quite as big. I don't know, but they weren't big enough. And I'd say high-waisted as well. No matter whether you're going to have a C-section or not, obviously you can't plan for that, because if you have an emergency one, you don't know that's going to happen or not. But even with not having a C-section, my belly was sore. I don't know why, maybe just like the afterbirth contractions, but yeah, my belly was just sore. So I'd say high-waisted knickers. The next must-have I'd say is big sanitary towels, like maternity pads. I always get the really good quality ones, big ones from Mothercare, because they're so thick, like really thick and soft, and I just find that they kind of give you a little bit of padding, so that when you have to sit down, it just gives you that little bit more comfort. And I wear those like for the first week or so, and then I just get cheap ones, and that's fine. But I'd say just get some really good quality thick maternity pads, and make sure the maternity pads are not just like extra large sanitary towels, because you need that padding. And then the next one would probably be some comfortable bedwear, new if you can afford to get new. Nightie or pyjamas, but if they're pyjamas, just make sure they're nice and loose and really, really comfortable. I had both nightie and pyjamas, and I just made sure that they were very comfortable, so that afterwards, once I've had my shower and I was all cleaned up, I could put some nice new pyjamas on, or a nightie. I think I put a nightie on after Fraser, and it just felt so much nicer. Next question is, are you routine mum or go with the flow mum, and what does your bedtime routine look like? I would say I'm mostly a routine mum, but I also go with the flow. I haven't been really strict with routines with my babies. Fraser more is into a routine now, and I generally get him down to sleep at the same time every single day for his naps. But as babies, if I'm able to, I'll let them kind of rule that, when they want to feed, when they want to sleep. Maybe that's the wrong way of doing it, but it has worked, and I've just, even though I've not breastfed, I've fed on demand and let them sleep when they want to sleep. And if they're still sleeping and it's what I think is feed time, I usually let them sleep, unless I need to get them to a routine so that I'm on track later in the day. So it just depends. I would say I'm definitely a bit of both. Then our bedtime starts at around 6 o'clock, once dinner time has all kind of been finished, and I've usually cleaned up by that point, and we try to get them down by 7 o'clock. I don't do bath time every night. I usually do it 3 times a week, so on a Monday, Wednesday and Saturday. If they're having a bath, then we clean them after dinner, get them upstairs, get them in the bath. Then they get like, depending on how long I've let them go in the bath for, like what time I get them upstairs for, will depend on how long I let them stay in there for. Tom will stay in there for an hour if I let him, but there's not usually enough time. Let them play for a little bit. Fraser usually comes out first, because he just splashes and stands, and it's a little bit of a nightmare at the moment. So he usually comes out first. He gets dried and into his pyjamas, and usually Keith is home at this point, so he helps me out, which is really good. I let Tommy play for just a minute or two longer, so that he can have free reign of the bath, then get him out, get him in his pyjamas, and then we do story. Sometimes we do story together, but quite often Keith will take Fraser downstairs, do him a little story and give him milk while I'm upstairs with Tommy and reading him a story that's more appropriate to him, and then put him into bed. Keith will be downstairs with Fraser, giving him milk and then putting him to bed. The next question is, what type of labour did you have, and did you have any pain relief? Both labours with the two boys have been almost opposite. With Tommy, I was a week overdue and started labour on Saturday tea time and laboured throughout the night. And basically, long story short, I will link my labour story for him down below and up above for you. I was in labour for around 50 hours or 50 plus hours with him. I ended up being induced mid-labour. I started off in the birth centre but ended up in the labour ward because they were inducing me, because my labour just wasn't progressing, I wasn't dilating. And I'd already decided before they offered that to me that if they did, I would have an epidural. And when they offered it to me, they said, we're going to send you to the labour ward to be induced. The midwife actually suggested I have an epidural because I'd been in labour for so long, I needed sleep. I hadn't slept for about 2 or 3 days and I was very, very tired. I still had a long way to go, still had to push this baby out, so I ended up with an epidural. Before that I had pethidine, painkillers. I think I pretty much had it all with Tommy, anything that was going, because it was just going on for so long and I was quite stressed at times and it was a struggle. And at the end ended up with forceps and an episiotomy with Tommy. He was back to back and just wasn't coming out. So I guess in some ways the end of that labour was fairly easy, but my recovery wasn't. With Fraser, I was induced because I'm 41 now, but I was 40 at the time, and they offered it to me because anyone, like women this over 40, I think there's more risk of stillbirth at 40 weeks plus. So I took it and I was induced. I had the pessary put in and that worked, and then had my waters broken, and I think 2 hours later the baby, I think maybe 2.5 hours later, I had the baby in my arms. No pain relief apart from gas and air. I wanted pain relief at the time, but it just wasn't time. I was ready to accept anything, and then they told me actually your 10 centimetres dilated and ready to push. Afterwards, that was quite dramatic. I was losing a lot of blood. They were struggling to stitch me up. So I'd say the end of that labour was more traumatic than Tommy's, but my recovery was far, far better. So I'd take Fraser's over Tommy's any day. So absolutely no pain relief. And although I thought I'd want the epidural because I'd had it with Tommy, and it was just so much nicer just to lay there letting it happen without feeling that pain. But it was over fairly quickly, and although it felt quite traumatic at the time, it was over quick and my recovery was so much better. Next question is, have you ever been mum shamed? I don't think I ever have to my face, but I've seen comments like on social media, not necessarily directed at me, but that kind of apply to me, that would shame me. They haven't bothered me so much. I'd say the one thing that happened, which is something that I feel like I want to share at some point, and I haven't really talked about it in social media yet, but I reached out in a group for some help because I was struggling once I found out that Fraser was actually a boy. And I had a few comments like, what do you think your baby's going to think of when they're older, thinking that you wanted a girl, not a boy, and basically telling me just to get over it. And so I was kind of shamed then, I'd say, because I had a little bit of gender disappointment. Like I said, this is something I've not really talked about on social media, and it's something I want to, sorry, the camera cut out. I guess I've been quite embarrassed to talk about it, but it's something that I do plan to either do a blog post or video on it at some point, because I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about. We shouldn't be shaming women for feeling things. So I'd say that is the one thing that I was kind of shamed on, but I had a lot of like positive comments, people telling me not to be so hard on myself, and a lot of nice comments. So even though I had those couple of comments which weren't very nice at the time, and like I didn't want to feel that way, I didn't plan to feel that way at all, but anyway, I'm not going to go into it now because it's something that I need to talk about in more depth, because there's more to it just than I was feeling some gender disappointment. There was more to it than that, and I don't really think I can go into it just in this little video now, but I'd say that is the one thing that I felt at the time. Next question is the biggest challenge you have faced since becoming a mum. I think it is realising that I can't do everything, or can't do anything quickly or everything quickly. Particularly after I had Tommy. I'm more used to it now, but when I had Tommy, I just want to do a job. And I knew I could do it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but obviously children have a different idea and they want your attention when they want your attention. And so I really struggled with that. I still struggle with it now, because I know that if I was to get a job done there and then, I could give more attention to my kids, whereas they want my attention before I can finish the job, which means I've got to give them attention, go back to the job. Then I've got less time to give them, because when they get the attention to begin with, it's not my full attention, because I'm still thinking about that other thing that I need to do. So I say that is probably the thing I've struggled with most. I'm so used to being, or was so used to being productive, and I'm not always now, and that's fine, but it is something I have struggled with since becoming a mum. Next question is best advice you've ever been given, and what advice you would give to another new mum. I'm not really sure if I got too much advice. I think because I'm a little bit older, I have experience with children. I didn't get a whole lot of advice. I probably did get little bits. Like, since I've had children, I've had people say go with the flow, just what will be, just let them, if they need you, just sit down and let them have your attention, those kind of things. But before I had the boys, I don't think I got too much advice given to me. The one bit of advice that I give now is to new mums, their first baby, is just to enjoy those early days as much as possible. They are hard. I really struggled in those early days. I was probably bordering on postnatal depression when I had Tommy, definitely struggling with some post-traumatic stress, and I was probably suffering with that, not really realising it at the time. So I was really struggling when I had Tommy, and I just wanted to be well again. I wanted to be okay, and I wasn't physically and obviously mentally, but mainly physically, and so I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I wish I had. With your second, obviously I haven't got any more than 2, but with your second, you can't give quite as much attention to that baby. You've got another child that needs your attention, and so you can't just sit around during the day and just cuddle them. You can't just go for long walks all the time. It just depends. Like, you've got to consider both children in your day. So definitely to new mums, just enjoy those early days. It is hard going from 0 to 1 baby. I really struggled with that, but there's nothing can replace that time. You're not going to get that time again. Yes, you might have another baby, but your second baby, your third baby is not going to be the same as your first. You're not going to be able to give them the same attention. Even if you've got an age gap and your oldest child is at school, it's still not going to be the same. You're still going to be split. And the last question, which I've got to do really quickly because I've just seen the time and I need to go and get Tommy from school now, is what is it? Who's your mum crush and who do you tag? I guess it means like people on social media, because I don't suppose my mum friends who aren't on social media want me to tag them. I can't really think of anyone right this second. Well, one I can think of who currently isn't making videos, but she has made a lot of videos and I think she will come back to it at some point, and her name's Jen at 1,000 words, and I just think she's amazing. We are friends. We haven't seen each other for a long time because she now lives in New Zealand, but I really admire her for what she does. She seems to get a really good balance, and I know she doesn't always feel like she gets a good balance, but she's got a lovely relationship with her 2 boys. I just got 2 boys as well, so I can kind of like look at her and her relationship and see that I can have a similar relationship with my boys as well. And she's just accomplished so much in her life, and I know she feels like she hasn't got the skills necessary for the workforce. For me, she's got more skills than most people I know, because she puts her mind to something and she does it. She learns how to do it, and she doesn't let not knowing something stopping her doing it. she just gets on with it. I just really admire her for that. Another woman I can think of, which I'm not going to tag because she's not on social media, but she's a single mum of 5 children, and she always looks put together. She's just amazing. Like, now her children are older, so she's got a bit more time in her hands. Or I guess she's got a bit more time in her hands. I don't really know. I don't see her too often at the moment. I know she just started a new job, so she's got that to deal with. But when her children were little, I'd see her turn up somewhere with all 5 children looking immaculate, and she would look immaculate as well. And I know she wouldn't always feel it, but she just looked so put together. And I know that for her, time for herself was so important, and she made it. Sometimes mums are so guilty of saying, I don't have the time. I know I'm guilty of that. I say I haven't got time to do my nails, haven't got time to do my hair, haven't got time to have a bath or do a facial, all those things. And I know money sometimes comes into that, like I can't afford to maybe go to the salon, but it doesn't mean I can't do a hair mask or put a face mask on or do my nails. And we say we haven't got time, but if she, as a mum of 5 children who was single, could do those things for herself, not all the time but sometimes, or even go out with some friends and find a babysitter, why can't I, who has a husband at home who can babysit for me? I've got the time, I just need to make the time. And she's always been a really good example to me of a mum who loves her children to bits, like really loves her children to bits, but also values her own time and values herself enough. She probably doesn't always feel like she values herself enough, but she has valued herself enough that she's given herself time to herself, to be with friends, to be with adults, and to care for herself. And I just really admire that. If I can think of anyone else in social media, I will tag them below, and if I can think of anyone who I want to tag to do this, I will also tag them below as well. But I need to go now because I need to go do the school one. But thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something about me. I will hopefully get more videos up soon. I'm just really struggling at the moment to get content up. But if you're not already following me on Instagram, please go and follow me there, because I am regularly uploading to my grid as well as stories, so you can go watch me there as well. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It is completely free to subscribe. It just means that you get a notification in your subscription box that I've uploaded a video. And I will see you next time. Bye.